We're the Lincoln Project. We're not liberals. We're not progressives. We're former Republicans who put country over party. We're Americans who know unless we stop Trump, he will end this democracy we cherish. We're all in to defeat Trump, break the MAGA movement, and end this chaos.
An increasingly heated clash is rapidly approaching, and this election has all the makings to be the most infamously contentious one in American history, with endless disputes and barbs slung in all directions.
Donald Trump will be the Republican candidate for president. There's a battle ahead like nothing we've ever seen. The fate of your country, your family, and your freedom are on the line. You can't win this on the debate stage or with policy papers. He is more cruel, more desperate, and more dangerous than ever. He'll use violence and chaos. He'll fight dirty. That's why you need fighters on your side who hit just as hard.
It's all about that man Trump again, and it looks like he may never truly escape the limelight, at least not while he's living. As everyone is aware, Donald Trump is running for a second term, and nothing seems to be stopping him, not even the legal proceedings in the recent hush money case.
This is amazing. Trump is threatening to sue Fox News for running a Lincoln Project ad. Before we get to the feud between Fox and Trump, let's look at the ad that ticked him off.
MAGA. We have some bad news. No, not that he lost. Not that your little coup attempt failed and its planners and the attackers are going to jail. No, the really bad news is why Trump told you he lost. Why he set it up way before the 2020 election. It wasn't voter fraud.
Every election is a choice, and the choice this election is more important than any we've ever faced. America can choose to move forward or go backward to a time not long ago that almost broke us apart. Have so many already forgotten what the Trump years were? Chaos, corruption, ugliness, cruelty, violence, a wrecked economy, and over 500,000 dead Americans.
Which stenciled him as the first president of the United States to be found guilty of a felony. Amid growing American disapproval of the former president, the longtime players in this game aren't letting go of their perks. The Lincoln Project, led by Rick Wilson, Reed Galen, and Steve Schmidt, the only founders left after the 2021 scandal, is more active than ever before, with directors like Sarah Lentil, Stuart Stevens, and Michael Steele returning from 2020 to make sure the president fails to win another term.
I am your warrior. I am your justice.
It's surprising that the initiative is being driven by a group of retired Republicans, some of whom date back to 2015 when Trump was nominated as the Republican nominee, all with the goal of ensuring Trump's defeat and the loss of all Republicans who share Trump's philosophy.
If you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done. Criminal justice reform, Obama and Joe didn't do it.
And then God said, I sent this man to test you, and until you cast him down, you have failed. So God made a dictator.
With Trump comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln, it's a strange coincidence that a project named after one of the greatest Republican uniters is titled for his ambition, his desire to take another 4 years of power and guarantee his policies remain indelible in the cores of the United States.
This face, every day, again. Can you imagine? This face constantly on your screen. Spreading lies, insanity, conspiracies, and cruelty everywhere, all the time. Again, this face.
Understandably, the former president would be reduced to tears and outburst upon seeing these ads disseminating regrettable yet truthful information about him. All the lies, all the empty promises, all his narcissistic and infantile act, it's probably too late for him. The world and Americans are probably sick of seeing it all and may even be afraid of returning to a period when it was almost impossible to ignore.
This face, and yours, every day. For 4 more years. It felt like it would never end before. If he wins this time, It never will.
It certainly shouldn't be a hoax that this group, which has consistently opposed undemocratic individuals and never backed a Democrat's side, has issued such a bold warning. Notwithstanding the former president's outbursts and tears, he knows the reality, and who knows if those tears are sincere or fake as usual. His promises of a unified Reich and being a dictator on day one are all clues to the subjective nightmare that 4 years may look like.
Why does MAGA love Vladimir Putin so much? He reminds them of someone they love. Both are pathological liars.
We will be aiming at denazification of Ukraine.
I think it was an insurrection caused by Nancy Pelosi.
Both hate democracy.
He controls the press, he controls the oligarchs.
Both use violence to attack law and order.
We will never give up, we will never concede. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
Both demean women.
We all know that he would most likely undermine our democracy if given the chance, and he made a hint about it during one of his uneasy campaigns. The former president's public adulation and affection for dictators such as Putin and even China's Xi Jinping is no surprise given his ever-present tendency to abuse democracy, which he would never openly declare to the public.
Carrie Lake and Donald Trump. At first, they admitted they wanted a national abortion ban.
I don't think abortion pills should be legal.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Now, they're pretending they won't back the ban if they're elected. They're lying.
This total ban on abortion is out of line with where the people of this state are.
Did Arizona go too far? Yeah, they did, and that'll be straightened out.
I agree with President Trump. This is such a personal and private issue.
It's a fact that words have lasting power, particularly when spoken aloud. Donald Trump is unable to shake his anti-democratic remarks about women's bodies, which he now vehemently disputes in an attempt to continue misleading the public and seize political power for his purpose. If we are honest, his policies are the causes for the spring of the Louisiana initiatives to prohibit abortion medications. And what else could the former president lie to the American people about next?
They'll ban all abortion, even to save a mother's life. They'll end IVF, and they'll ban birth control.
It's hard to imagine he'd cry on this occasion, since we all know where he stands, and we can't help but ask whether this is the America we all want to live in for the next 4 years, with potentially long-term consequences.
What are Republicans like Rick Scott, J.D. Vance, and Mike Johnson doing in a New York City courtroom? Wasting time, wasting taxpayer money.
Just the unbelievable, just complete waste.
Are they in Washington, D.C., working to make the economy stronger, or America safer, or your life better?
No, no, no.
No. They talk about inflation and gas prices, but they're too busy cheerleading their leader to do anything about it.
Everybody loves me.
As the Trump administration has demonstrated during their 4 years in office, it is clear that they care more about themselves than the needs of the people. Despite their claims of inflation and a struggling economy, they have neglected their responsibilities as our federal representatives in favor of Donald Trump's clown show during his trial, in which he was found guilty of all counts leveled against him. Meanwhile, the American people are left to suffer the consequences of their disdain while they enjoy our tax dollars.
When Donald Trump was president the first time, the Russians wanted him to win.
He called him colorful, talented. He said Donald Trump is the absolute leader of the U.S. presidential race.
They helped him. He won.
Господина Трампа избрал американский народ. Можно спорить, но нельзя проявлять неуважение.
He never forgot it.
These claims will only serve to highlight his unwavering respect for the Russian president, who he seems to be more interested in than fellow Americans.
Over and over, Trump put Putin and Russia over American interests.
The problem is not that Putin is smart. The real problem is that our leaders are dumb.
Obama was correct to label the former president as unserious. After all, what patriotic American would make such a claim? It's also one of the things that the former president would never be able to deny seeing, since there's no defense for such blatantly egotistical behavior in public.
He wants Putin to win in Ukraine.
I said, this is genius.
More and more damning remarks that the former president is unable to retract, and he can only watch as he loses further support from voters. At this point, no amount of lies will likely be able to rescue him, with the possible exception of the few MAGA fans who likely view him as their god.
It's not our party anymore. The Republican Party that made America safer, stronger. The party that put our security and American values first. A party born to expand liberty. A party of real free markets and economic growth that starts on Main Street, not rigged giveaways and special favors. Led by men and women of honor and courage, service and sacrifice. Leaders who never talk America down. That party is dead.
If we could travel back in time, even to more recent times, we would witness how the once powerful Republicans have succumbed to a shadowy cult that is acting immaturely and with the utmost selfishness. This is very unsettling, especially in light of the fact that the election is still open and anything can happen.
We know who killed it. We're conservatives, not crazies. We believe in responsibility and accountability, and following the Constitution and the law, even when we don't like the results. We don't have to agree with Joe Biden on every policy issue. We won't. And when we don't, we'll say so. But so much is at stake in this election that it's time to put country over party and America over Trump.
There's no denying that the former president brought about the worst period of Republican history, and should they lose this election, they'll likely never again be frontrunners. Though each person is free to decide on the candidate they wish to support, regardless of their inclination, it is crucial to select a leader who shares your values and views for the nation. It's all up to you, and the outcome, good or bad, of your vote depends on what you settle on.
You're a criminal. And you did it to yourself.
Nobody's ever seen anything like this. It's a shame.
Your defense was weak because you're weak. They had no argument because there is no argument. You were too scared to testify because you knew Donald. You know. You're guilty. Guilty as sin. Guilty as charged.
It appears that Trump will not be able to shake off the insurrection orchestrated by his erstwhile partisans in the person of his party's founder and hero, and he may have to pour out all of his tears before they would even entertain the possibility of granting him a partial pardon. He is undoubtedly a convicted felon, and no one seems to mind rubbing it in his face. Despite his best attempts to have the conviction overturned, the fact that he flouted his word and failed to testify simply serves to further establish his guilt, and this ad does not abate it.
He's not the same man. His energy is gone. No one can deny it.
False. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls.
We've all had parents who we loved, but who changed over the years. Needed help, needed understanding, needed care.
Including Obama. I'll tell you what, you take a look at Obama and take...
With Trump, it's happening so fast.
It appears that the former president is slowly succumbing to the mounting pressures that are causing him to lose support from the public. He appears to be aging more rapidly, his memory is getting worse, and his once explosive personality is clearly showing signs of waning. The Lincoln Project is undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire.
Hillary Clinton, I didn't say lock her up, but the people would all say lock her up, lock her up. Okay, then we won, and I said pretty openly, I say, all right, come on, just relax, let's go. We gotta make our country great.
Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary. Lock them up.
Yet further evidence that the president may lose his mind with the impending election conundrum, and that he could envision himself becoming the president that he has been criticizing for his advanced age and cognitive degradation, Joe Biden. This occurred just a few days ago as the Trump administration attempts to overturn the hush money case conviction.
You know he won't change. You know he's the architect of all his problems. But he thinks you're gullible, that you can't figure him out. If you keep supporting him, you're proving him right.
It's true that given the chance, he may steer America in a different direction, but as we all know, Donald Trump is unchangeable. He's been the same since we all got to know him in the 1900s, and he's not going to change now.
America's presidents have always brought something unique to the White House. From revolutionaries to businessmen to statesmen, their common thread has been clear: a commitment to the founding principles that make America great. Until recently, there was something else every president since World War II had in common. They all saw Adolf Hitler for the genocidal monster he was. All of them except one, Donald Trump. After 80 years of presidents who despise Nazism, Donald Trump became the first one to praise it.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
Considering his previous remarks throughout his presidential campaign, it's hard not to be scared of the man's potential impact on our non-American friends and family.
He's a felon. He's a criminal. He can't vote. He can't own a gun. This guy just lost his rights in a trial that was held in a courtroom where the evidence on both sides was presented. Donald Trump chose not to call certain witnesses that he could have called to defend himself, and he chose not to testify. He chose not to use the advice of counsel defense. He chose all those things, just as he chose to commit the crimes that led him to being a felon.
Donald Trump may be in for some serious heartache because Rick Wilson isn't going anywhere and is prepared to tell the world straight if necessary, proving that Trump is unqualified to be president.
There's mourning in America, and under the leadership of Donald Trump, our country is weaker and sicker and poorer. And now, Americans are asking, if we have another 4 years like this, will there even be an America?
The campaign against Donald Trump started long ago with this advertisement, which was meant to serve as a wake-up call for Americans and expose his bad handling of the coronavirus outbreak. In the end, Joe Biden, the current president, defeated the previous president.
Never heard of this. All of a sudden, it's got the world aflutter.
We only have 11 cases, and they're all getting better.
This is their new hoax. We have lost nobody.
Whatever happens, we're totally prepared.
States and cities across the nation have shut down restaurants and bars.
We pretty much shut it down.
And another brutal day on Wall Street.
Press is in hysteria mode. I didn't do it. I don't know anything about it.
The U.S. is under a national state of emergency.
We did shut it down, yes.
The number of confirmed cases continues to surge.
I think that we're doing a great job.
Hastily arranged airport screenings.
Let's take it easy. Just relax.
The former president expressed a great deal of criticism regarding their posts just before the 2020 elections, but it didn't alter the tragedy his conceited outlook brought upon the American people, as his ignorance during the pandemic claimed many lives.
Project 2025 is Trump's plan to make America different, less free, less fair, less American. It's a roadmap for total control, Trump's control.
The gloves are off. There are no holds barred here.
Not just of the government, of your life, of your body, of every one of your freedoms, of what you can read and say, and where you can travel. He'll round up American citizens, use the government to punish his enemies.
There's no need to dwell on the past when one may look forward to a better future. The Lincoln Project ad doesn't paint that future in a positive light, and neither can we deny hearing about the terrible project or his withdrawn post on the supreme right.
It's 4 years of scorched earth when Donald Trump retakes the White House.
But he promises to only be a dictator for one day. One day, sure.
Our interpretation of all this depends largely on how much we want to believe or trust the former president. It's clear why the president is so incensed by these commercials, but nothing is more painful than the truth, especially for someone with such a long history of deceit.
Has this ever happened to you? You're sitting in court again, under pressure and stress, and then a warm feeling comes over you, uncomfortably warm.
Uh-oh.
It's pressure, all right. Down there. That's when you need Trump diapers. Trump diapers, the elite adults incontinence product for owning libs on the go while you go. Trump diapers contain a comforting, patent-pending fiber that's the ultimate in pulling fluids from your delicate orange skin.
If they are biased, though, it's hard to tell given some needless slanders like this one.
Once a longtime heroin addict, RFK Jr. has crazy right-wing conspiracy ideas. He's not a serious candidate, but he's a dangerous candidate. Because a vote for RFK Jr. is a vote for Donald Trump. That's why even those who love him like a brother are all supporting President Biden.
By attacking Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they may be demonstrating their support and loyalty to the Democratic Party. But it's also possible they're only attempting to expose the real character of the candidates that Americans are debating nominating to the White House.
The best way forward for America is to re-elect Joe Biden
Biden. That's right, the Kennedy family endorses Joe Biden for president.
The Kennedy family's backing of President Joe Biden may also be seen as a backing for their purported criticism of the independent presidential candidate who is currently running for the presidency.
We go to 24. Did you see it? Then it says 28, 32, 36, 40, 44. And you know what's very interesting, though? There are really people out there think I'm not leaving. Can you believe it?
Much more could be said about all of these, but it's easy to see why the charismatic, flashy, sharp-witted former president would be taken aback by what these advertisements contain. And that's only a small taste of what the Lincoln Project organization has in store for him, and why they believe it will save the American people from what could be their worst 4 years in history, if not catastrophic. Voting for the appropriate candidate is unquestionably a vote to preserve America. Let's thoroughly reflect on all that has been mentioned in light of this last Lincoln Project ad.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a man to test the will and goodness of a free people. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who failed in everything but theft and broken promises to live in a golden palace and convince the poor he serves their needs. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a wicked man to lead the common folk with hatred and fear. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a corrupt man who is above the law and immune from justice. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who will use violence to seize power. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man whose followers will call black white, call evil good, and call criminals hostages. So God made a dictator. God said, I need his political party to obey without question, and the press fear his wrath. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a cruel man who uses his power and position to punish and harm his opposition. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who breaks the faith of even his most godly followers and leads them to idolatry. Place him above me. So God made a dictator. And then God said, I sent this man to test you, and until you cast him down, you have failed. So God made a dictator.
What are your opinions on all of this? Stay put, we'll be back as usual. You definitely don't want to miss out on anything, and us too. We're responding immediately to the latest developments regarding the Trump trial. See you in the next video.